So how do you get this information? How do you get this information? Number one, you've got to ask. Effective negotiators ask at least 2 times more questions than others. Folks, that is an incredible statistic. Effective negotiators ask at least 2 times more questions than others. Raise your hands if you negotiate over the telephone. Let's say you're sitting at your desk, telephone rings. It's your counterpart in the negotiation. You look at the caller ID. Before you say a word, who has a strategic advantage? The caller. No matter how bright you are, no matter how good you are on your feet, you're probably not thinking strategically about that call, that conversation, that negotiation at that exact moment in time. And chances are, they've spent a little bit of time thinking about what they want to accomplish in that telephone call. Here's my recommended response almost every time. I'm right in the middle of something, can I call you back? Now, 100% of the time, that is an accurate, truthful response. You might be right in the middle of daydreaming. Accurate, truthful response. Chances are, that person calling also has thought about what questions they want to ask. Effective negotiators ask at least 2 times more questions than others. If you give me, on the one hand, a very, very bright, intelligent, convincing, persuasive negotiator who is not a particularly effective questioner and listener, and on the other hand, you give me an equally bright and intelligent negotiator who is not as persuasive, not as convincing, just as bright, but is a more effective questioner and listener, 9 times out of 10, the more effective questioner and listener will be the more effective negotiator. Negotiation power goes to those who ask and listen, not those who argue and persuade. Negotiation power goes to those who ask and listen, not those who argue and persuade. Reflect back on your last significant negotiation. Who asked more questions? Who was in more information gathering mode? One of the questions up here said you had an information disadvantage. You need to think about that going in. What kind of questions do you want to ask? What information do you want to find out? Now, I'm a list person. So I go into a negotiation oftentimes with a list of information I want to find out. And sometimes during a break in a negotiation, I look at that list. And I say, you know what, I asked that question. They didn't answer it. Sometimes the most important thing you can find out in a negotiation is what they didn't answer, when they avoided answering a question. That means you not only have to actively listen, but you need to really deeply listen and understand and focus on what they're saying and what they're not saying.